Hello, everybody. I'm Jaidin McCann with Jasper Consultancy, and we are here in our executive leadership series with the wonderful Dr. Maria Gresham from Who's Your HR. And we're doing something a little different today. A lot of times we do these webinars and talk about how leaders need to grow and adapt, change, improve, but we rarely take the time to celebrate leaders and hear about how they are amazing and fantastic and celebrate those wins. So, Maria, I love what you had to say in regards to taking your time to congratulate ourselves and owning our accomplishments. We need to, right? Because leaders do not always get the accolades outside of hitting strategic numbers. They're rarely called out for their achievements, especially publicly. And so, we spend our own time and money that we earn for work to spend on books and consulting, webinars, training, all to be better at our jobs and what we do. But it's like we're never good enough, right? Because there's always room to improve. So, Maria, thank you so much for being here today to remind us leaders how amazing we are and how amazing leaders are.
Well, we are good enough, Jaden. I mean, we spend a lot of time, and we spent a lot of time last year probably reflecting on what that actually meant. And unfortunately, we probably spent quite a bit of time suggesting, opportunity for improvement, New Year's resolutions, and all of these wonderful things that we're going to do with the treadmill and, all of this stuff. And the reality is, you are absolutely positively awesome and fantastic. And so for me, as we start the new year, right, and it is actually Groundhog's Day today. So it's a do-over moment even, right? So even more positive associated with that. This is an opportunity for you to take a pause and do this. This is what I do. Clap your hands, pat yourself on the back, and say, awesome and fantastic. Because there are three things, Jaden, that we do every single day as leaders, employees, members of humanity. We bring our flex, we bring our swag, and we bring our brag. Every single day when we get up, regardless of the time that it is. So I love to take an opportunity to say thank you, give you a moment to pat yourself on the back. And Jaden, let's have a conversation about what that means. Flex, swag, and brag. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yes, I was just going to ask. I love the saying. Can you dive deeper into those three and, what that means for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we take a moment to look at our flex, we are running 88 miles per hour. We are speeding. We are constantly going. There is a lot that has been asked of us. And if you think about even just the beginning of this year, and we won't get into the politics or some of the decisions that have been made by major organizations, but there have been some fast decisions that have a significant impact on us individually. And we have to make decisions extremely quickly, right? With the information and the data that we actually have. That's what we're leveraging. And of course, there's probably some feedback from family members, over dinner saying, hey, I wouldn't do that if I were you, right? Or maybe, hey, this is what you should do. But you need to move very quickly with these decisions. There's a confidence associated with those decisions. And that is extremely key. And you have to trust your flex. You have to trust your flex capacitor. So I may be dating myself a little bit there. If you've ever seen Back to the Future with the flex capacitor, that is what makes things happen. So when you go forward, you need to be confident in the decisions that you're making. So let's just use a few examples associated with this. With a New Year resolution, Obviously, some of the easier things are, hey, I'm going to work out a little bit more. I'm going to go to the fitness center and I'm going to be responsive. From a leadership perspective, right? We have a responsibility to support ourselves and understand what we need to be a leader. But then we also have an obligation to enable others to be successful. So it is extremely important for you to think about the flex. What is the mission? What is your vision? What is it that you're striving for? And what does that look like? Because everybody looks at that on a regular basis. And then a lot of times, you're going to have to flex. So we have a great strategy, but given decisions for a variety of reasons in business or in the world, etc., you may need to course correct. Flex. So that's what the flex is. There is also the second piece, and that is your swag, right? So how do you go about executing on decisions that are being made? There is a dance that you have to do every single day. Now, if it's the two-step, right? Or the electric slide, or if it's something else, but there is a swag, there is a movement, which is the point with respect to how you actually ensure that your organization is going to be successful as you drive that mission and that vision. What's your swag? That swag can be a number of things. It obviously, and Jaidin, you mentioned it in starting up, right? It's taking a look at our financial metrics and the direction that we're going associated with that. Customer satisfaction, operational efficiency. What are the prospects associated with what you're doing day to day? And then how are you communicating that? How is that clear? And can you enable others to do that dance? Because that's what's extremely important about your swag, is that when you're doing that two-step or the electric slide or whatever it is that you're doing, the promenade, whatever it is that you're doing, others need to be able to follow that dance. They need to be able to follow that swag. So your communication has to be extremely clear, has to be understood, and you have to present yourself in a position where people will actually follow your dance. So that's your swag. And then the final thing is where we come back to patting yourself on the back, right? And what's extremely important is that you have to brag. In many cases, you are probably the only person that will give you accolades, and be comfortable with that and recognize that there are just sometimes when you do awesome and fantastic things. Pause, recognize it, and be comfortable with the fact that you have a win.
Absolutely.
The other thing, thank you, Jaidin. The only other thing I would say on that score is to share that with others, because we all need to know what awesome and fantastic looks like. And so take a moment and say, I am awesome and fantastic. And then share it with others.
Yes.
So I'll pause there. Those are my three: flex, swag, and brag there, Jaidin.
I love them. Oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts as you were going through all of them, but I'll stick with the brag since I know that's what we were just last talking about. I think it can be hard. I've seen a lot of leaders, even non-leaders, really have trouble giving themselves accolades and giving themselves recognition for a job well done. I think lots of great and humble leaders as well, they'll say, hey, it was all the team did all the work. And that's great. Absolutely. But, you as a leader, you got them there, right? Own that. Take some responsibility for that because there are others. And I think this is where some people get frustrated seeing certain people succeed while others are not growing within their organization, but are so much better. And I see it time and time again. I'm like, why? Why is this person not growing and this one is? But it's because this person has no problem bragging about themselves, sometimes on the point of arrogance. There's a fine line, right? A dance, your swag that you can bring to your brag.
You're right.
But others, hey, it was all them, or hey, I owe it to this. Hey, I owe it to this. No, you owe it to yourself. You can thank them for the opportunity they gave you, right? You can thank them for introducing you to the hiring manager and getting you into the conversation, but you got the job because of you, right? You didn't get the job because of them. And I think a lot of people miss that part or maybe have trouble with the swag aspect of their brag, right? They don't want to seem arrogant, but own it. Let others know what you've accomplished. Celebrate yourself.
You know what? I think that is we are humble. We are humble at the end of the day for the most part. And so we are a little bit shy as associated with that with respect to, just acknowledging all of the things that we have done. Here's some comfort food for folks who are, hey, I'm a little bit shy about bragging, my things, what I've done will, it will show itself. Let us have some comfort food associated with this. One, if you are a little bit shy about your swag, leverage some few factual components that support. So if for me personally, I don't have a problem saying I'm awesome and fantastic. I do it every single day, right? Yeah. But what I would say is that what I bring to the table are some key metrics. And I did mention this earlier. So I take a look at what have I accomplished? So my financial components in the role that I have currently, what are the metrics and how have I achieved those particular metrics? My relationships with others. I mean, we live in a social media environment. There are a lot of times when others will speak on our behalf, and I allow that to happen. Maria Gresham is recommended with respect to her work in HR consulting and business development, right? Others will speak. So that customer component in the services that I have provided. So supporting humanity, I think, is extremely important. Operational efficiency, as I mentioned before, how much have I saved in terms of just being effective with the way that we work? And then, obviously helping others and just kind of doing that give back. So that's a comfort piece that I think if you're uncomfortable just saying, hey, Jaidin, today I'm awesome and fantastic, hopefully you would say, well, tell me why.
Yeah, why? What made today so great? And that's a great time to celebrate your wins.
Exactly. So individuals will be comfortable asking why. You should feel comfortable. Your comfort food should be being able to explain that. I have, in terms of wins, number of different organizations that have supported and asked for business in terms of who's your HR. So that's absolutely fantastic. And continued support. There's obviously social media, as I mentioned before, with respect to recommendations for me and my services and support associated with that. And as a result of that, here I am today doing wondrous things. So I flex when I need to, and my clients are very comfortable with me being able to adjust. I swag and I do a dance, and my team joins in on that score, and they got the beat. And then I have an opportunity to brag. but there's a comfort component associated with that that is based on data.
I love that. And I also think if more people live this out, right? More leaders set the stage, right? It trickles down from the top, right? If us leaders live by this and we're comfortable sharing our and bragging about ourselves, looking for that in other people, looking for ways to brag about them and making them feel more comfortable to brag about themselves, or even knowing that it can be uncomfortable and setting up recognition systems from the top down, right? So if I set them for my team, what happens now when let's say I'm a manager, right? What happens when I'm a director? Make sure the manager's included, right? Leadership's included. Now, when you're a VP, that director, that manager, they're all included. And as they grow, they're going to love it, right? They're being recognized and celebrated for their achievements as leaders. When they grow, they will also incorporate that. And now you're building a really great company culture that helps others do this with you.
You're absolutely right, Jaidin. And the thing that is wonderful about that, right, is that they understand why they are great. They have an understanding of what it was that the leader, right? You said like the director or vice president, et cetera, and going forward, they understand what it took to be great, right? And not only that, when you talk about the why, let's start back with the flex, right? So what may have worked for an individual who is now a vice president may not necessarily work for you because things have changed. So you have to flex. That vice president, director, manager has been able to demonstrate the flexibility that is needed in order to succeed. And the gift is that they've demonstrated that in their swag. So they've changed the dance. They've had to change that dance movement in order to move forward. And hopefully, when they're teaching the two-step, they are providing the education to you as the future vice president, right? In order to move and have that swagger so that you are in a position to brag. And that brag is not always about you. It is about the fact that this exciting decision or effort or product or sales has actually happened. And it happened because we all understood that we needed to be agile. There's a movement or a dance that has to come forward, and everyone through the brag understands why it was successful. And
Yes.
that's what you need to do.
Absolutely. And I love the idea of the dance, right? Because I think a lot of leaders, they're great at flexing, or, some are, but the ones that are really great at flexing sometimes miss the second step of, great, I changed my tune. I'm in a new dance. It's going to go well. And they don't teach it to anybody else. They're just like, hey, this is the new dance, go. And then there's frustration with that change management when it doesn't take. It's like, hey, we got to slow down now. We got to take the time. I know it's busy, it's crazy. We're flexing, which means something came up, but we got to take the time to teach the dance. And I love the change management, way of phrasing it, I guess I should say, but the dance is a term I'm going to use now and reference back to, because it's something we forget to do. And I love the why. I teach the why constantly behind everything, because once you brag, you learn, hey, this is how we were successful in the why. But when we're flexing and teaching the dance, saying, hey, we're changing the dance, here's the new dance, but also here's why we're changing it. Otherwise, they're never going to learn how to flex themselves.
You know what? I love your phraseology associated with that. And I just think it's absolutely fantastic. The key components associated with that, when you are teaching a swag or you're part of a swag, let's just pause for a second here. If you've ever been in an aerobics class, or you've been on a football field or a hockey field, and you're trying to understand the play, right?
Great one. Yes.
Right? You're trying to understand the play. You need to understand why are we doing this? Like, why is this play or this movement helping me be successful, right? And then you need to understand the communication has to happen. What are the steps? What are the X's and O's, or what are the movements and the counts for the beats in order for you to change next? There needs to be an understanding of, one, the why, two, the direction that you need to go, and then finally the end, solution of what we're trying to achieve so we can brag.
Yes, absolutely. And I am very much big on, hey, of course we want to say, hey, this is how the team and what we're doing feeds into the bigger organizational picture and mission. But also, I think it's important when leading teams to say, hey, here's how you as an individual are participating toward our team goal, which now aligns with our organizational goal. And this is why you're important for this role. And even share what it is, why were you chosen for this, right? What skill sets do you have? Let's brag about you to show you this is why you were chosen to be a part of this role in this team. And then, of course, feeding into the greater organizational picture.
Jaidin, you are so amazing. I think there's a two-part component associated with that. There's one, it's like the swag piece. So you as an individual, when you swag, you're hoping that others will learn, but they need to understand what it is that they're actually doing and why they are important to the process. They are absolutely critical. There is a reason why they were chosen to be part of this dance. And in order for this all to work out and we don't fall over or, fumble or, whatever analogy you want, there needs to be an understanding of the purpose. And that is absolutely amazing. And then when you brag, to your point, you can talk efficiently, effectively, and very distinctly about what you brought to the table. And that's what allows you to do this, because you own it, you did it, you understood it. And not only that, you can teach it. You can teach it so that the next person coming forward can actually do the same thing, or at least do the dance.
I love that. I'm a very big catalyst for leaders developing leaders that aren't just as good as them, but are actually better than them, right? I want my successor to be better than me because one, I taught them everything I know, but
Yeah.
two, like, hey, learn from my mistakes, right? I don't need you to come in and be me. You have your own ability to flex now. It was taught. You have your own swag, right? You leverage that, right? You can do a different dance, but
Right.
leverage your personal style, but learn from my mistakes, right? Don't do this dance in this situation. I tried it, it did not work out. And that way you can come in and be even better than me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's really important of the leader. Going back to what you said before, Jaidin, of, the vice president or the director, whatever, one of the roles that they play as they flex and they swag and they brag, they do listen, right? And they observe. And as you said, hey, we may go into another organization or another situation. That dance move is not going to work. So the good thing about the vice president or the director or whomever is that they're going to flex and they're going to say, you know what? That two steps not working here today. I'm going to listen and I'm going to say, well, what else? What else should we do? And hopefully, if you have supported your team, enabled them to continue to grow, they're going to say, well, you know what? The electric slide might work, or, we'll do a promenade on this one. We got to stay close together, right? In order for this to work. And hopefully, if you are confident in yourself, in your own personal brag as a leader, then you will say, you know what? Let's go for it.
I love that. And I love the dance analogy so much because I think that listening piece really comes in when you talk about, okay, yes, we need to flex, what's that new beat we're doing our new dance to, right? Somebody has to listen for it and say, okay, this is the beat, this is the rhythm, and then you can get everyone else in there. I just love this analogy. It's so perfect. I do have one question I want to ask before we run out of time, Maria. Sometimes the world hits you as a leader, right? You're moving fast, you feel like you're not getting enough stuff done in the day, massive layoffs happen, and you're like, oh, the news is talking about how we didn't handle this well, right? It's all over LinkedIn.
Yeah.
How is it, and how do you encourage people to be able to brag and have that, mindset of I am a leader I am proud of, and have that mindset in decision making when the world is just, it seems to be closing in on you?
Yeah. And we're starting off the year with some of those things that are actually happening. I would say, let us go back to our flex, our ability to be able to be course corrective, agile, and move forward in a very fast-paced environment is extremely important. When you flex, if you just slow it down for a second and pause, it is an understanding of why you need to change, why you need to do something differently, and how you have the capabilities that, what you're bringing to the table in order to make that happen. So I know when I mentioned very early on, Jaidin, when I talked about the flex, we're going 88 miles per hour, we're going very fast. There is a pause moment associated with that. When you are agile, it means you are comfortable just taking a moment and saying, let's take it all in. Let's understand why this dance is not working. The swag's not going to work anymore. And I'm not going to be able to brag a little bit later about stuff. Or if I do, what am I going to brag about? But take a moment and pause on your flex. And then from there, make a decision on what you want to do. I think as a leader, that is one of the best things that you can do, is take a minute and say, we're going to change. We're going to course correct.
Yeah. I think being able to, I mean, of course, we're all afraid to make certain mistakes, especially with high level strategy. It affects so much. But even when you do, right, when you recognize, hey, that was the wrong call, right? We flexed in the wrong direction, but saying and taking a moment instead of saying, hey, I failed, but I would say giving yourself that pat on the back and a little bit of a brag to say, I learned something. Learned at
That
least that didn't work. We have the opportunity still to maneuver and flex in a different direction, and just, changing that mindset a little bit, I think would be very beneficial for a lot of leaders.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Well said, Jaidin. Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Maria, I am so happy I got to chat with you today. Is there anything else you would like to leave our audience with before we head out for the day?
So I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity. If there's more chance for a conversation, certainly would love that, particularly from an HR standpoint and a business strategy standpoint. Love to help individuals, love to help organizations succeed. I am a focus member for humanity, so I'm just looking for all of us to flex, swag, and brag and be successful. And I appreciate the opportunity to share some thoughts on that with you today.
Absolutely. I'm sure there will be more. I know you and I are both nerds about HR and human capital and how, and humanity in general, wanting the best for people. So I'm so excited to continue having these conversations, Maria.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.